Greetings, YouTube. A common refrain you hear from a lot of folks on the right in America is all about voting integrity. Even though our election system is incredibly robust and there has never been a significant amount of at the polls uh, shenanigans anywhere in the U.S., and never more than a minuscule rounding error. In fact, the few times that I can think where there was actually someone attempting to do something on a larger scale, it's always been a Republican. In fact, I just heard today that a woman was just sentenced to prison because she tried to give access to red caps, to voting machines, because they wanted to prove that they had been tampered with or something, so they could show that the shit given had actually been elected in 2020, which they of course couldn't do because he lost that particular election. Um, but now she's been sentenced, which is awesome. She's all upset because she says she doesn't want to go to prison with criminals because she doesn't consider herself a criminal. Bullshit. You tried to undermine an entire election. They threw you in prison for the rest of your life. I wouldn't even bat a goddamn eye. Now, when they talk about election integrity and voter ID laws, and which we don't need, we also don't need registration. We should eliminate registration completely. If you are a U.S. citizen and you're over the age 18 or older, you should be able to vote in any election anywhere in the U.S. Period. That's it. Those are the criteria you have to meet. If you meet that, you can vote. But that would make things simple, and the GOP doesn't want to make things simple because the more accessible voting is, the worse they do, and they know this. But one of the things I've heard them say a lot is all about citizenship. They want to demand people prove their citizenship. But I want to know whose citizenship are they going to question? Are they going to question me if I walk into a poll? Especially, particularly if I were wearing like a little American flag pin and maybe a MAGA hat on my head. Are they going to question me? Of course, they're not going to question me. I'm just the first kind of person they want to see walk in there and get to the polls. Are they going to question folks that look like they're from Ireland or from Germany or from Russia? No. Canadians, they're not going to question Canadians either. For lots of folks in Canada are really white people, just like lots of people in America are really white people. Though by the turn of this century, that will no longer be true. White people will no longer be the dominant uh, demographic in the U.S., and that'll be awesome. I hope that I live to see it just so I can watch the red caps become apoplectic. Maybe they'll all keel over. Dunk. Um, no, they're going to question the citizenship of brown people and black people exclusively. And they're going to put onerous amounts of pressure on these people in an attempt to dissuade them from voting completely. Um, I heard something. They're always talking about that illegals, as they like to call them, which undocumented folks, are voting, and they're not. That just isn't a thing. Undocumented people do not want to be on the radar of the legal system, so they're not going to do that. In fact, one guy said this guy was in charge of voter registration for like a city or something, and said the only time he's ever had somebody call up who was an immigrant who was not eligible to vote was someone who had inadvertently been placed on a voter registration list because his name was similar to someone else's. And he was begging the person, please take my name off because I don't want legal problems. Because he knew he couldn't vote and he was not attempting a vote. He was attempting to get his name off the rolls so no one would ever question the fact that he was one of those bad immigrants. So they're not going to question white people or Canadians or Russians or Germans or people like that. They're all going to question black people and brown people because the GOP is the party of white nationalism. It's the party of racism. If you support the GOP in the year 2024, I don't care what's in your heart. I don't care if you don't have a racist bone in your body. You're carrying water for white nationalism, and that makes you a shitty human being. Period. I will brook no arguments on that one, folks. You have decided to ally yourself with white nationalists. David Duke is your friend. So think about that when you head to the polls. If you really want to be in bed with white nationalists, and if you do, you're a lost goddamn cause. But maybe some folks will realize, I actually don't want to be, in bed with the white nationalists. Because remember, When you lie down with dogs, you get up with fleas.